as cliche as it is to say in sport, a win is a win. And Dub Nation, you know from the last two seasons, towards the end of the season, when you're looking at the win-loss columns, the tiebreakers, the positioning for playoffs, there's not going to be some little asterisk that says blown 30-point lead. It's just going to say W. And the Warriors get their first overtime victory on the road since December of 2017. That's unbelievable, right? And we know all the clutch game stats, this and that, depleted and then severely depleted down the stretch of this game. I want to talk about the free throw shooting first, right? Because that's the obvious elephant in the room. You circle 32 of 50 from the foul line. It wouldn't even been close, right? In that first half, I was like, bro, how good are we? Like y'all heard me. I thought this was going to be a tough matchup. And I think in the second half, you saw where it could be on a certain night, right? But look, I get it. No one likes excuses in sports, right? Oh, I wasn't shooting well because I get it. I get it. I've always kind of been of the belief that when you get a team to play at maximum effort, sprinting the floor, switching, all out on defense, like we've seen this Warriors team playing, it's going to cost you a little at the foul line. And you say, well, it's not costing them from the three-point line. Well, I think in-game shooting is a little bit different. So long as you're in shape and you are a shooter, playing hard should actually get you into rhythm and you should shoot well, right? The foul line, you want your heart rate to get down a little bit. It's a different rhythm. A lot of guys' shot is completely different at the foul line. And so, look, 32 of 50 is completely unacceptable. Like that, you can't have that, right? But I suspect that part of this team, if this is the DNA of how hard they're going to play, probably not going to shoot free throws as well as you might expect on paper, and the cost being the maximum effort that this team has been giving. It's November, y'all. Thanksgiving is on deck. Holiday food. We all love to enjoy holiday food. My issue is I overindulge. You end up with all these leftovers around the house, and then you're eating on plates for way too long. That's where Factor 75 can help you. Fresh, never frozen, delivered directly to your doorstep, chef created with ingredients with integrity. You know the deal. 2 minutes in the microwave and you're ready to go. It's convenient, it's efficient, and best of all, it tastes great. 35 different flavors to choose from each week. They've got gourmet options with shrimp, filet mignon, juices, smoothies, and it's just creating the habit, right? We all have these ideas and plans to stick to, but then you're on the go, you need something quickly, and you end up grabbing something and breaking your routine. And that's where Factor, I think, can help so many people stick to a meal plan that they want, and it's good. So head over to factor75.com or click the link below and use the code 50alchemy for 50% off plus free shipping on your first box of Factor. That's code 50alchemy at factor75.com for 50% off plus free shipping on your first box of Factor. But what really stuck out to me in that first half was, Houston, they've got all these athletes. Udoka, you see the culture he is trying to build there. They're tough. They're going to try to bully you. They're going to play harder. They're more athletic, right? And they have all these ingredients. But something that I don't think is maybe talked about enough in basketball is collective IQ. Because you saw the Warriors just carve them up in that first half. You can play really hard. You can be physical. You can be athletic. But if you don't have team IQ, you're not connected, ultimately, you're not going to come anywhere near your ceiling of what you can be. And you saw this young Rockets team mainly getting picked on through Jalen Green. Like, Jalen Green is an astonishingly bad defender. He is really bad. And that was the hole that we chose to attack through. But even Amon Thompson and some of these younger guys that are known to be better defenders, like on an island, on the ball, they're there, right? But the team stuff, the switching, the communicating, and all the nuanced stuff, Houston's got a ways to go, and the Warriors took advantage of that in the first half. But the culture of Houston is toughness, and you knew that they weren't going to just roll over. And so here comes the run. The threes start to drop, and all of a sudden it's a ball game. And I know, as frustrating as it is to watch live, if you have League Pass or you jump around to these other games, this is every night. This is every night, right? The early games come on, you flip around, you're like, oh, Charlotte's down 28, right? And then you flip back an hour later and it's a 6-point game. That's just kind of the nature of the beast. And so I think we all knew the run was coming. But I guess where I'll start was the start of the fourth quarter. It was already like a 10-point game. It was already a basketball game again. And what was the lineup? Kerr had a lineup out there of Pods, Trey Waters, Lindy Waters, Draymond, Kyle, and Buddy. And you heard Azubuike say, like, hey, man, sometimes you just got to beat your guy off the dribble. You know what I mean? And Houston all of a sudden had smelt blood in the water. They'd gotten super aggressive. They were picking up backcourt ball pressure. You know what would be nice with the backcourt ball pressure would be a screen in the backcourt. Screen might help. You could tell Pods was struggling. They're just letting him just like fight for his life on there. So a bunch of turnovers, and there were a couple possessions where like slow-mo was taking late clock shots, and it was like, all right, you need Wiggins or Kuminga in there, right? And I thought Kerr went too long with that lineup. He went to like the 8-minute mark, and that was like a crucial part of Houston's comeback. That stagnant offense where we couldn't create a shot led to their offense in transition. Now, it could have been Trace, right? Trace continues to only play very limited. I get it. Looney's looked really good, but Trace has been the odd man out. And we've explained over and over again, I think everyone understands his value offensively. It's not just points. It's just his threat and his vertical spacing. So it could have been Trace. You could have went back to Kuminga or Wiggins, who were both getting to the line. And that lineup was out there for too long for my taste. Heck, Moody still not getting probably enough burn. And then Pods, look, part of this is a learning experience. You saw him not take final shot. Was that at the half, right? I doubt you'll ever see that again. I thought that his muscle memory took over. He came off the screen and he took this rhythm step and his body was like, oh, this is a three. Like, this feels good. And so there was that mistake, and then the turnovers and the ball pressure. Look, every team doesn't have Houston's personnel, those, super athletic wings that can pressure up on him like that. But I think you see some of his limitations athletically where I think in part the defense can be more aggressive because they're not worried about him blowing by. But then you saw his competitive spirit take over and get to that left hand several times in the fourth quarter where I think that Pods can be a better finisher than he's shown. A lot of the time when he gets downhill, I think he kind of gets caught in between. He's like, am I throwing the lob to the dunker spot? Am I kicking to the corner? Do I want, and that indecision is going to lead to inefficiency when you're trying to finish in the paint. And in that fourth quarter, those few baskets, there was no indecision. He understood like, hey, no one's creating shots. I got to get to it. And you saw more of what I think he can be as a finisher moving forward in his career. And then Wiggs, he tweaks the ankle. I loved that he stayed in there. Right? There was kind of, you saw Kerr like, hey, you want to come out or are you going to stay in? And then he came back in. And, it's not nothing, dude. It's not nothing. Contextually, we've questioned if this guy wants to play basketball. This year, he looks like a new man. I think we all agree. But I just like the fact that he came back in on that and was like, yeah, let me try something here. Because ironically, I think in a lot of these full court ball pressure matchups, I wouldn't mind seeing Wiggins with the ball. I know he turned it over when he rolled the ankle. But he has this big frame, and it's not like the ball's on a string for him, obviously, but he uses his frame. He keeps the defender away with his frame, and then he's quick enough where they can't just bum rush him because he will go right by you. And so he gets chipped up. Draymond fouls out, right? Pods fouls out. We go into overtime, and it feels like, we've seen this way too many times last season, right? And this was Kuminga's opportunity. Right, the coaching staff was forced to try to let Kuminga close, right, and he delivered. This was Kuminga's first big moment, really, as a Warrior. I mean, I know he's had other big games, but his like closing moment, overtime on the road, give me the ball and I will get it done. After the game, I turned on X-Men Apocalypse, was on HBO, and I'm a big comic book nerd. I love those movies. I don't care what anybody says, right? But there was this scene where young Cyclops, they're getting ready to fight Apocalypse, and Mystique's like, do this. And he's like, hey, not all of us can control our powers, right? Like, what do we do? And she goes, don't try to control them, embrace them. You know what I mean? And it was just like, they've got to, they don't try to control Kuminga's powers, embrace them. Right. And maybe I'm losing y'all with this a little bit, but the fact was they were forced to embrace, what Kuminga can bring to the table for this team. And that's, hey, create something, get downhill, get shots. And so hopefully moving forward, like this was a big deal, man. I think to win this game, considering how many close ones they lost last year, it just sets a really good tone, right? And it's impressive to have that momentum swing, that letdown. You had it as a fan, right? When they finally came back from all the way down 31, you're like, oh, it's so deflating. It's very hard to come back and win a game when a team finally comes all the way back and you're on the road and you're missing half your roster. So it's putting a little, notch in the belt of this young team getting battle tested, figuring some things out. Was it perfect? Of course not. The turnovers, the chemistry, you got to learn from it, right? But to be able to walk away with a win and get all that experience, and for Kuminga to make this statement of like, I can close. We don't always have to close within the system. If the system is being blown up, we have a guy who can put his head down and create something, and that's, you could argue his greatest strength. So it's about time we start using it, right? What else? I'm a bit fatigued. This was a grueling breakdown today. I think it's like 16 or 17 minutes. That's on my Patreon. You can check the link in the description. We head to Washington Monday evening. Poole has been cooking. I did a little segment on him last week. Kubali, the long French kid, has taken a big step. They've got Alex Sarr, was he the number one pick? No, the kid in Atlanta was number one. Sarr was number two, right? But they have kind of a new look. They're very young. They're athletic. And, they're going to, I'm sure Poole's going to have a little something for us, right? So that should be entertaining. Supposedly Steph will be back. Hopefully Wiggs is good with the little ankle tweak, and we can head out east truly here with a healthy roster, right? Hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.